Hollywood Television Theatre presents The Shadow of a Gunman by Seán O'Casey. And now, Act One of The Shadow of a Gunman by Seán O'Casey.
Or when sweet summer's ardent arms outspread, entwined with flowers, enfold us like two lovers newly wed through ravished hours, then sorrow, woe, and pain lose all their powers, for each is dead, and life is only ours.
Are you awake, Mr. Shields? Mr. Shields, are you awake? Are you going to get up today at all? Mr. Shields, is there any use in calling you at all? This is a nice 9 o'clock. Do you know what time it is, Mr. Shields?
Yes.
Why don't you get up then and not have the house turned into a bedlam trying to waken you?
All right. The way these old ones bawl at a body. Upon me soul, I'm beginning to think that the Irish people are still in the Stone Age. If they could, they'd throw a bomb at you.
A landmine exploding underneath the bed is the only thing that'd lift you out of it.
I was fast in the arms of Morpheus. He was one of the infernal deities, son of Somnus, wasn't he?
I think so.
The poppy was his emblem, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It's a bit cold this morning, I think, isn't it?
It's quite plain and not to get much quietness in this house.
I wonder what time it is.
The Angelus went some time ago.
The Angelus?
Aye.
Oh, no, it couldn't be that late, could it? I asked him to call me at 9 so as I could get mass before I went on me rounds. Why didn't you give us a rap?
Give you a rap. Why, man, they've been thundering at the door and hammering at the windows for the past 2 hours till the house shook to its very foundation. But you took less notice of the infernal din than I would take of the strumming of a grasshopper.
Yes. Oh, there's no fear of you thinking of anyone else when you're at your poetry. Oh, the land of saints and scholars will soon be a land of bloody poets. I suppose MacGowran has come and gone.
MacGowran? No, he hasn't been here. Why? Did you expect him?
He said he'd be here at 9. Before the last chime has struck, you see, I'll be coming in that door. And it must be... What time is it now?
Oh, it must be 12:30.
Did anybody ever see the like of the Irish people? Is there any use trying to do anything in this country? Have everything packed and ready. Have everything packed and ready.
Everything packed and ready.
Well, what's the use of having everything packed and ready when he didn't come? No wonder this unfortunate country is as it is. For you can't believe the word of a single individual in it. I suppose he was too damn lazy to get up. He wanted the streets to be well aired first. Oh, Kathleen Houlihan, your way's a thorny way.
Oh, me, alas, pain ever forever.
That's Shelley's Prometheus Unbound. You know, I could never agree with Shelley. Not that I'm acting against him as a poet.
He flung a few stones through stained glass windows.
Well, he wasn't the first, and he won't be the last to do that. But the stained glass windows, more than any of them, are still there. And Shelley is doing a jazz dance down below.
And you actually rejoice and are exceeding glad that, as you believe, Shelley, the sensitive, high-minded, noble-hearted Shelley, is suffering the tortures of the damned.
I rejoice in the vindication of the church and truth.
Bah, you know as little about truth as anybody else, and you care as little for the church as the least of those that profess her faith, your religion. It's simply the state of being afraid that God will torture your soul in the next world as you're afraid that black and tans will torture your body in this.
Oh, go on, me boy, go on. I'll have a right laugh at you when both of us are dead.
Well, you're welcome to laugh as much as you like at me when both of us are dead.
I don't think I need wash myself this morning. Do I look all right?
You're all right. It's too late now to start washing yourself. Didn't you wash yourself yesterday morning?
Oh, I gave myself a great rub yesterday. I think I'll bring out some of these braces, too. Damn it, they're well worth 6pence each. Did you see them?
Yes, you showed them to me before.
Oh, they're great value. I only hope I can get enough of them. I'm wearing a pair of them myself. Look, they do something, they're so strong. Now. There's a dozen in each of these packages. I better count them to make sure. 3, 6, 9. Damn it, there's only 11 in this one. I better try another. 3, 6, 9. My God, there's only 11 in this one, too. And one of them bent. Now I suppose I'd have to go to the whole bloody lot of them. For I'd never be easy in me mind thinking there might be more than a dozen in some of them. And we're still looking for freedom. Ah, ye gods. It's a glorious country. Oh! There's our braces after breaking now.
That doesn't look as if they were strong enough for Samson.
I put a heavy strain on them too sudden. That fellow MacGowran never turned up either. He's almost too lazy to wash himself.
Morning, Seumas.
This is a nice 9 o'clock. What's the use of coming in here at this hour of the day? They think we're going to work by moonlight. If you weren't going to be here at 9, why couldn't you say you weren't going to be here at 9?
Keep your hair on. I just blew in to tell you that I couldn't go today at all. I've got to go to Knoxadan.
Knoxadan? Well, what in the name of God can be bringing you to Knoxadan?
Business. Business. I'm going out to catch butterflies.
Now, if you want to make a cod out of anybody, try and make a cod out of somebody else, but don't be making a cod out of me. Here I've had everything packed and ready for hours. You ought to be here at 9 o'clock, and you wait till just 1 o'clock to come rushing in like a mad bull to tell me you've got to go to Knoxadan. Can't you leave Knoxadan till tomorrow?
Oh, can't be did. Can't be did, Seumas. If I waited till tomorrow, all the butterflies might be dead.
Wait.
Here, lass. I'll leave this bag here until this evening.
No. No, look, just...
Goodbye.
Oh, it's a hopeless country. And there's a fellow who believes and the 4 cardinal virtues are not to be found outside an Irish republic. I don't want to boast about myself. I don't want to boast about myself. And I suppose I can call myself as good a Gael as some of those who are knocking about now. Knocking about now. As good a Gael as some of those who are knocking about now. But I remember the time when I taught Irish 6 nights a week, when in the Irish Republican Brotherhood, I paid me rifle levy like a man. And when the church refused to have anything to do with James Stephens, I tarred a prayer for the repose of his soul on the steps of the Pro-Cathedral. Now, after all me hard work for Dark Rose Lane, the only answer you can get from a roaring Republican to a simple question is goodbye. What in the name of God can be bringing him to Knoxadan?
Hadn't you better run out and ask him?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Make a joke about it. Now, that's the Irish people all over. They treat a joke as a serious thing, and a serious thing as a joke. Upon my soul, I'm beginning to believe that the Irish people are not, never were, and never will be fit for self-government. They made Balor of the Evil Eye King of Ireland. And signs on it, there's neither conscience nor honesty, from one end of the country to the other. Well, I hope he has a happy day and knocks her down. Ah, who's that? Who's that? Who's that?
Man, can't you go and see?
Good day, Mr. Shields. Good day. It's myself that hopes you're feeling well. You're looking well, anyhow. Though one can't always go by the looks nowadays.
It doesn't matter whether I'm looking well or feeling well. I'm all right, thanks be to God.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it.
It doesn't matter whether you're glad enough to hear it or not, Mr. Mulligan.
Oh, you're not inclined to be very civil now, are you, Mr. Shields?
Now, look here, Mr. Mulligan, if you've come here to raise an argument with me, I've something else to do with me time, let me tell you
I
that.
come here to raise no argument, och no. A person of small gains arguing with the likes of you. Let me tell you that.
I've no time to stand here gossiping with you, Mr. Mulligan. Will you let me shut the door?
You'll shut no door till you've heard what I've got to say.
Well, say it then, and be about your business.
Oh, you're very high and mighty now, aren't you? Well, take care you're not going to get a fall. Yeah, what a baby you are. Not to know what brings me here. Maybe you thought I was going to ask you to come to tea?
Oh, me, your last pain, ever, forever.
Good day to you, sir. I'm having my rent. You don't like the idea of being asked to pay your just and lawful debts.
You'll get your rent, Mr. Mulligan, when you learn how to keep your rent book in a proper condition.
I'm not going to take any lessons from you anyhow.
I want no more talk with you, Mr. Mulligan.
Talk or no talk. You owe me 11 weeks' rent, and it's marked down here again, you, in black and white.
I don't care a damn if it was marked down in green, white, and yellow.
Oh, you're a terrible independent fella, now aren't you? Well, take care. It'd be fitter for you to be less funny and stop trying to be billicking honest and respectable people.
Now, you better be careful what you're saying, Mr. Mulligan. There's a law in the land yet.
Aye, by my soul, there is. And you're going to get a little of it now. Yeah, them's for you.
I want nothing at all to do with you, Mr. Mulligan.
By my soul, it was a sorry day I ever let the likes of you come into this house, let me tell you that. Well, now, maybe these notices to quit will put a stop to your writing letters to the papers about me in the house.
For goodness sake, don't be discussing the situation like a pair of primitive troglodytes.
Writing to the papers is my own business, Mr. Mulligan, and I'll write as often as I like, when I like, and how I like.
You'll not be writing about this house at all events. Huh? Oh, yes, you can blow about the state of the yard, aye. But you took care to say nothing at all about paying the rent, now, did you? No, that's not in your line. Well, now, since you're not satisfied with the house, you can pack up and go to another.
I'll go when I think fit, Mr. Mulligan, and no sooner.
We'll see about that. Not content with keeping the rent. No, you're starting to bring in lodgers. Not that I'm saying anything against you, sir. No, sirree. But mind you now, bringing in lodgers without so much as a be your leave, well, now, I ask you, what in the name of God's the world coming to at all that the man's house isn't his own, huh? You get my point? Huh? Are you? I'll soon put a stop to your galloping. For on the 28th of next month, out you go, bags and all, and there'll be few sorry to see you're back.
I'll go when I like.
I'll let you see whether you own the house or no.
I'll go when I like.
We'll see about that.
We'll see.
Aye, we'll see. I'm in earnest. You'll not stop in this house a minute longer than the 28th.
Go to hell!
What in the name of God ever persuaded me to come into this house?
Sure, it's all right once you get used to it. You're too thin-skinned altogether. The old sod's got the wind up about you, that's all.
Got the wind up about me.
He thinks you're on the run. He's afraid of a raid and that his lovely property will be destroyed. So they all think you're on the run. Mrs. Henderson thinks it, Tommy Owen thinks it, Mr. and Mrs. Gregson think it, and Minnie Powell thinks it too. Well, I better be off if I'm going to get at it all done today.
Here, what are we to do with these notices to quit?
Shove them up on the mantelpiece behind one of the statues.
Oh, I mean, what action shall we take?
I can't go into that now. I'll talk about it when I come back. Hey, God, I'll get me own back on that old Mulligan yet. Wish to God I would come and blow his old rookery to pieces. For it's all he thinks of. And mind you, old Mulligan would call himself a descendant of one of the true Gaels of Ireland. Oh, proud were the chieftains of famed Inishfoil, the star of our sky, and the salt of our soil. Catlini Houlihan, your way's a thorny way.
Oh, Donal Davoren, your way's a thorny way. Your last state is worse than your first. Oh, me, alas. Pain, 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 ever, forever. Like thee, Prometheus, no change, no pause, no hope. Oh, life. 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 Oh, another fury come to plague me now. You can knock till you're tired.
Are you Mr. Shields?
No, he isn't, Minnie. He's just gone out. If you run out quickly, you're sure to catch him.
Well, that's all right, Mr. Davoren. You'll do just as well. I just come in for a drop of milk for a cup of tea. I shouldn't be troubling you this way, but I'm sure you don't mind.
No trouble in the world. Delighted, I'm sure. There. That be enough.
Oh, plenty lashings, thanks. Do you be all alone all the day, Mr. Davoren?
Oh, indeed. Wish to God I was.
It's not good for you, then. I don't know how you like to be by yourself. I couldn't stick it long.
No?
Oh, no, indeed. There's nothing I'm more fond of than a hoolie. I was at one last Sunday. I danced rings around me. Tommy Owens was there. You know Tommy Owens, don't you?
I can't say as I do.
Do you not? The little fellow that lives in the two-pair back with his mother. He's a gorgeous melodeon player.
Huh? Gifted son of Orpheus, eh?
You've said it, Mr. Davoren. The son of poor old Batty Owens, a wishy-donny bit of a man who was never sober and always talking politics. Poor man, he killed him in the long run.
A man should always be drunk when he talks politics, Minnie. It's the only way to make them sound important.
Tommy takes after the old fellow, too. He'd talk from morning till night when he's had a few joggers in him. Poetry's a grand thing, Mr. Davoren. I'd love to be able to write a poem. A lovely poem on Ireland and the men of '98.
We've had enough poems of '98, Minnie, and of Ireland, too.
Oh, there's a thing for a Republican to say. But I know what you mean. It's time to give up the writing and take to the gun. What's Mr. Shields doing with the old weeds?
Those aren't shields, Minnie. They're mine. Wildflowers is a kindlier name for them, Minnie, than weeds. These are wild violets. And this is an arum maculatum, or wake robin. And these are celandines, a very beautiful flower related to the buttercups. One day when morn's half-opened eyes were bright with spring sunshine, my hand was clasped in yours, dear love, and yours was clasped in mine. We bowed as worshippers before the golden celandine.
Aren't they lovely now? And isn't the poem lovely, too? I wonder now who she was.
She? Who?
Whether... be the way you don't know.
No, I'm sure I don't know.
Oh, it doesn't matter anyhow. That's your own business. I suppose I don't know her.
Know her? Know whom?
Her, whose hand was clasped in yours and yours was clasped in hers.
Oh, that. Well, that simply was a poem I quoted, Minnie, about the celandine. It might apply to any girl. To you, for instance.
Ah, but you have a sweetheart all the same, Mr. Davoren, haven't you?
I? No. Not one.
Oh, now. You could tell that to someone else. Aren't you a poet? And aren't all the girls fond of poets?
That may be, Minnie, but all the poets aren't fond of girls.
They are in the storybooks. I ain't fond of more than one, too. Are you fond of them, Mr. Davoren?
Well, of course I like girls, Minnie. Especially girls who can add to their charms by the way in which they dress. Like you, for instance.
Now you're on for codding me, Mr. Davoren.
No, really. You're a very charming little girl indeed.
And if I'm a charming little girl, you ought to be able to write a poem about me.
So I will. And I have written them about girls not half so pretty as yourself.
I knew you had one. I knew you had one now.
Nonsense. Every girl a poet writes about isn't his sweetheart. Annie Laurie wasn't the sweetheart of Bobby Burns.
You needn't tell me she wasn't. And for bonny Annie Laurie, I'd lay me down and die. No man would lay down and die for any but a sweetheart, not even for a wife.
No man, Minnie, willingly dies for anything.
Except for his country, like Robert Emmet.
Even he'd have lived if he could. He died not to deliver Ireland. The British government killed him to save the British nation.
You're only joking now. You die for your country.
I don't know so much about that.
You would. I know what you are.
What am I?
A gunman on the run.
Well, maybe I am, and maybe I'm not.
Oh, I know. Do you never be afraid?
Afraid? Afraid of what?
Why, the ambushes, of course. I'm all of a tremble when I hear a shot go off. And what must it be to be in the middle of the firing?
I'll admit, one does be a little nervous at first. But a fella gets used to it after a bit. Till at last a gunman throws a bomb as carelessly as a schoolboy throws a snowball.
I wish it was all over all the same. You'll take care of yourself, won't you? Won't you, Donald? I mean, Mr. Davoren.
Call me Donald. We're friends. We're great friends now. Well, Minnie, call me Donald. Let me hear you say Donald.
Oh, the place badly needs a tidying up. Donald. There. But it really does. It's in an awful state. Tomorrow's a half day, and I'll run in and straighten it up a bit.
Oh, no. You're too pretty for that sort of thing. Besides, the people in the house will be sure to start talking about you.
And do you think Minnie Powell cares whether they'll talk or no? I've had to push my way through life up to this without help from anyone. And she's not going to ask their leave now to do what she wants to do.
My soul within art thou, Minnie. A pioneer in action as I am a pioneer in thought. The two powers that shall grasp this sorry scheme of things entire and mold life nearer to the heart's desire. Lovely little Minnie, and brave as well. Brave little Minnie, and lovely as well.
I see nothing, honest. I thought you was learning to typewrite. Mr. Davoren teaching you. I see nothing else, to help me God.
We'd be hard put to a Tommy Owens if we minded what you seen.
Right, Minnie, right. Tommy Owens has a heart. Evening, Mr. Davoren. Don't mind me coming in. I'm Tommy Owens. I live up in the two-pair back, working in Ross and Walpole's. Mr. Shields knows me well. You needn't be afraid of me, Mr. Davoren.
Why should I be afraid of you, Mr. Owens, or of anybody else?
Why should you indeed? Why should you indeed? We're all friends here. Mr. Shields knows me well. All you got to say is, do you know Tommy Owens? And he'll tell you the sort of a man Tommy Owens is. There's no flies on Tommy, you got me.
For goodness sake, Tommy, leave Mr. Davoren alone. He's got enough virgins on him already.
Not a word, Minnie. Not a word. Mr. Davoren understands me well as man to man. It's up the Republic all the time, eh, Mr. Davoren?
I know nothing about the Republic, Mr. Owens. I have no connection with the politics of the day, and I don't want to have any connection.
Needn't say no more. Needn't say no more. A nod's as good as a wink to a blind horse. You've no meddling or making with it. Neither good, bad, or indifferent. Neither pro nor con. Oh, I knew it. And Minnie knows it. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Two firm hands clasped together will all the power outbrave of the heartless English tyrant. The Saxon coward and knave. That's Tommy Owen's hand, sir. The hand of a man. Mr. Shields knows me well. High upon the gallows tree stood the noble-hearted three, by the vengeful tyrant stricken in their bloom. But they met him face to face with the spirit of their race, and they went with souls undaunted to their doom.
Tommy Owen, for goodness sake, it would be best
God save Ireland, says the heroes. God save Ireland, says we all. Whether on the scaffold high or the battlefield we die, oh, what matter when for Erin dear we fall? Mr. Davoren, I'd die for Ireland.
I know you would, Tommy. I know you would.
Never got a chance. They never gave me a chance. But all the same, I'd be there if I was called on. Mr. Shields knows that. You ask Mr. Shields that, Mr. Davoren.
There's no necessity, Tommy. I know you've got the stuff if you only had the chance. But remember, he also serves who only stands and waits.
Bloody well tired of waiting. We're all tired of waiting. Why isn't every man in Ireland out with the IRA? Up with the barricades! Up with the barricades! It's now or never. It's now and forever. As Sarsfield said at the Battle of Vinegar Hill. Up with the barricades! That's Tommy Owens and a penny buys a whistle, and let them as thinks different say different, eh? What do you say, Mr. Davoren?
I say, Tommy, you ought to go up and get your dinner. For if you wait much longer, it won't be worth the eating.
Oh, damn the dinner. Who'd think of dinner and Ireland fighting to be free? Not Tommy Owens. It's only the Englishman is always thinking of his belly.
Tommy Owens.
Oh, excuse me, Miss... In the ardor of me anger, I disremembered there was a lady present.
Come on in, Mr. Gallagher. Come in, Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Davoren won't mind. It's him who can put you in the way of having your wrongs righted. Come in, man, and don't be so shy. Mr. Davoren is one of ourselves that stands for the government of the people, with the people, and by the people. You'll find you'll be as welcome as the flowers in May. Good evening, Mr. Davoren. God and his holy angels be between you and all harm.
Come in, Mr. Gallagher, and don't be a stranger. We're all friends here. Oh, if there's anything special to be done, or particular advice asked, that's your man there.
Mrs. Henderson, I'm very busy now.
Don't be put out, Mr. Davoren. I won't keep you more than a few minutes. It isn't in me or in Mr. Gallagher to spoil sport. Him and me was young once. We know what it is to be strolling at night in the pale moonlight with arms around one another. And it wouldn't take much and say there's game in Mr. Gallagher still. But I sometimes seen a dangerous cock in his eye. But we won't keep you and Minnie long, Sandra, for he's the letter and all written. You must know Mr. Davoren. Oh, excuse me for not introducing him sooner, but this is Mr. Gallagher. He lives in the front drawing room of number 55. As decent, honest, and quiet a man as you'd never meet in a day's walk. And signs on it, it's them will be imposed upon. Read the letter, Mr. Gallagher.
Read away, Mr. Gallagher. It'll be attended to, never fear. We know our own no. Eh, Mr. Davoren?
Hurry up, Mr. Gallagher, and don't be keeping Mr. Davoren waiting.
Give him time, Minnie Powell. Give him time. You must know, in all fairity, Mr. Davoren, that the people living in the next room to Mr. Gallagher, the back drawing room to be particular. Am I right or am I wrong, Mr. Gallagher?
Oh, you're right, Mrs. Henderson. Perfectly right indeed. That's the very identical room.
Well, the people living in the back drawing room ought to be more particular. The residents, that's the word that's written in the letter. Am I right or am I wrong, Mr. Gallagher?
You're right, Mrs. Henderson. Perfectly accurate. That's the very identical word.
Well, the residents living in the back drawing room is nothing but a gang of tramps that oughtn't to be allowed to associate with decent, honest, quiet people like himself. Mr. Davoren has tried to reason with them and make them behave themselves, which, in my opinion, they never will. It's only an opinion, however, and not legal. But ever since, they've made Mr. Gallagher's life a hell. Mr. Gallagher, am I right or am I wrong?
I'm sorry to say you're right, Mrs. Henderson. Perfectly right. There's not a word of exaggeration.
Well, now, Mr. Gallagher, since I've given Mr. Davoren a fair account of how you're situated and of these tramps' cleverality, I'll ask you to read the letter, which I must say, not because you're there or because you're a friend of mine, is as good a letter as was ever decomposed by a scholar. Now, Mr. Gallagher, and don't forget the top saying.
1 second. Mr. Gallagher, is this the 21st or the 22nd?
It's the 21st, sir.
Thanks. Proceed, Mr. Gallagher.
To all to whom these presents come, greeting, gentlemen of the Irish Republican Army.
There's a beginning for you, Mr. Davoren.
That's some swank.
There's a lot in that saying, mind you. It packs a hard wallop at the British Empire.
Go on, Mr. Gallagher.
I wish to call your attention to the persecution me and my family has to put up with in respect of and appertaining to the residents of the back drawing room of the house known as 55 St. Teresa Street, situate in the parish of St. Thomas in the borough and city of Dublin. This persecution started 18 months ago, or, to be precise, on the 10th day of the 11th month in the year 1918.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Precise. It cuts the ground from under their feet, so to speak.
We, the complainants, resident on the ground floor, deeming it disrespectable to have...
Which it was.
Deeming it disrespectable to have an open hall door and to have the hall turned into a playground, made a solemn protest. And, in consequence, we, the complainants aforesaid, has had no peace ever since. Owing to the persecution, as aforesaid specified, we had to take out a summons against them some time ago, as there was no Republican courts then. But we did not proceed against them, as me and my wife, to wit, James and Winifred Gallagher, has a strong objection to foreign courts as such. We had peace for some time after that. But now things have gone from bad to worse. The name-calling and the language is something abominable.
Excuse me, Mr. Gallagher. I think the word shocking should be put in there after abominable. For the language of these tramps is two ways of being looked at. Abominable to your children and shocking to your wife. Am I right or am I wrong, Mr. Davoren?
Shocking is a right good word with a great deal of meaning.
Oh, Tommy, let Mr. Davoren speak. Whatever Mr. Davoren says, Julia Henderson will abide by.
I think the word might certainly be introduced with advantage.
Well, putting the word shocking as aforesaid.
Hey, there's 2 K's in shocking.
The language is something abominable and shocking. My wife has often to lock the door of the room to keep them from assaulting her. The name of the resident tenant who is giving all this trouble and who, pursuant to the facts of the case aforesaid mentioned, will be the defendant, is Dwyer. The husband of the aforesaid Mrs. Dwyer, or the aforesaid defendant, as the case may be, is a seaman who is coming home shortly, and we beg the Irish Republican Army to note that the said Mrs. Dwyer says he will settle us when he comes home. While leaving it entirely in the hands of the gentlemen of the Republican Army, the defendant, that is to say, James Gallagher of 55 St. Teresa Street, ventures to say that he thinks he has made out a primi facie case against Mrs. Dwyer and all her heirs, male and female, as aforesaid mentioned in the above written schedule. N.B. If you send up any of your men, please tell them to bring their guns. I beg to remain the humble servant and devoted admirer of the gentlemen of the Irish Republican Army, witness my hand this 10th day of the 5th month of the year 1920, James Gallagher.
There's a letter for you, Mr. Davoren.
That's the most powerfulest letter I ever heard read.
It wasn't you that really writ that, Mr. Gallagher.
Sinn Féin Yvonne, him and him only, Minnie. I seen it with my own 2 eyes when me and Winnie, Mrs. Gallagher, as aforesaid appears in the letter, Mr. Davoren, was having a chat by the fire.
You'd never think it was in him to do it.
And to think the likes of such a man could have the living soul case worried out of him by a gang of tramps. But it's in good hands now. And instead of them settling yous, Mr. Gallagher, it's yous who'll settle them. Give the letter to Mr. Davoren and we'll be going. Oh, I hope you and Mr. Shields is getting on all right together, Mr. Davoren.
Fairly well, thanks, sir. We don't see much of each other. He's out during the day, and I'm usually out during the evening.
I'm afraid he'll never make a fortune out of what he's selling. He could talk above an hour over a pellet of pins. Every time he comes by the place, I buy a packet of hairpins from him just to give him a little encouragement. I declare to God, I have enough pins now that'd make a wire mattress for a double bed. All the young devils around the place are beginning to make jeering, too. I gave one of them a man of organ the other day for calling him old hairpins.
Mr. Shields is a man of exceptional mental capacity and is worthy of a more dignified position.
Them words is true, Mr. Gallagher, and they aren't. For to be wise is to be a fool, and to be a fool is to be wise.
Oh, Mrs. Henderson, that's a parrot tox.
Well, it may be what a parrot talks, or a blackbird, or for a matter of that, a lark. But it's what Juno Henderson thinks anyway. Shh. Shh. Is that a stop press? Go out and get one, Tommy, till we see what it says.
I haven't got a mate.
Ah, you've never seen any other way. And Mrs. Grimson, was that a stop press?
Yes, an ambush out near Knoxadan.
Oh, that's the stuff to give them. Was anybody hurted?
One poor man killed. Some chap named McGuire, the paper says.
What name did she say?
McGuire, did you know him, Mr. Davoren?
Yes. No, Minnie, I didn't know him. I didn't know him.
I wonder, does it be the McGuire that does be with Mr. Shields?
Oh, no, not at all. It couldn't be.
We better make a move, Mr. Gallagher. We've kept Mr. Davoren long enough. You'll find the letter will be in good hands.
Mr. Davoren, sir, on behalf of myself, James Gallagher, and Winifred, Mrs. Gallagher, wife of the said James, I beg to offer, extend, and furnish our humble and hearty thanks for your benevolent goodness in interfering in the matter specified, particulated, and expanded upon in this letter, mandamus, or schedule, as the case may be. And let me interpretate to you on behalf of myself and Winifred Gallagher that whenever you visit us, you will be supernally positive of 100,000 welcomes.
There's a man for you, Mr. Davoren. And he forgot to mention the two children, Biddy and Sean. It's himself that trained them well. It'd make your heart thrill like an alarm clock to hear them singing, "Faith of our fathers and reap the green flag round me."
Oh, it's faith and fatherland, Mrs. Henderson, faith and fatherland.
Oh, well, good day, Mr. Davoren.
Good day.
God keep you and strengthen all men that are fighting for Ireland's freedom.
I must be off too. Good day to you, Mr. Davoren. And remember, Tommy Owens only waits the call. Only waits the call.
Well, Minnie, we're by ourselves once more.
Wouldn't that Tommy Owens give you the sick? Only waiting to hear the call. I think it would take all the brass bands in Ireland to blow the call before Tommy Owens would hear it. Sacred Heart, I've only 10 minutes to get back to work. I'll have to fly. Quick, Mr. Davoren. Write me name in typewriting before I go. Just Minnie. Now yours, underneath. Just Donal. Minnie, Donal. Donal, Minnie. Goodbye now.
Here, what about your milk?
Oh, I haven't time for it now. I'll come back for it later this evening.
What about the kiss I didn't get?
What kiss?
When we were interrupted. You know, you little rogue. Come on, just one.
Oh, quick then.
Minnie, Donal. Donal, Minnie. Very pretty, but very ignorant. A gunman on the run. Be careful, Donal Davoren. But Minnie is attracted to the idea, and I am attracted to Minnie. And what danger can there be in being the shadow of a gunman? Cold, chaste moon, the queen of heaven's bright isles, who makes all beautiful on which she smiles. That wandering shrine of soft yet icy flame, whichever is transformed, yet still the same. Ah, Shelley, Shelley. You yourself were a lovely human orb, shining through clouds of whirling human dust. She makes all beautiful on which she smiles. Ah, Shelley, she couldn't make this accursed room beautiful. Oh, Donald. I fear your last state is worse than your first. When night advances through the sky with slow and solemn tread, the queenly moon looks down on life below as if she read man's soul, and in her scornful silence said, all beautiful and happiest things are dead.
Donal. Donal, are you awake? Donal. Donal, are you asleep?
I'm neither awake nor asleep. I'm thinking.
I was just thinking too. that MacGowran is sorry now he didn't come with me instead of going to Knocksedan. He got more than butterflies. 2 of them he got. 1 through each lung.
The Irish people are very fond of turning a serious thing into a joke. That was a very serious affair for poor MacGowran.
Well, why didn't he do what he arranged to do? Did he think of me when he was going to Knocksedan? How can he expect me to have any sympathy for him now?
I can hardly expect that, now that he's dead.
Oh, the Republicans will do a lot for him now. And how am I going to get back the things he has belonging to me, either? There's some of them in that bag there, but that's not a quarter of what he had. I don't know where he was stopping, for he left his old digs a week or so ago. Oh, I suppose nothing is to be said about my loss. I'm to sing dumb. I can't sleep ever since they put on this damn curfew. A few minutes ago, I thought I heard the old one standing at the door. They won't be satisfied till they bring a raid on the house. And they never stand there till it's after curfew. Are you going to bed, Donal?
No. I'm trying to finish this poem.
If I was you, I'd give that game up. It doesn't pay a working man to write poetry. I don't profess to know much about poetry. I don't profess to know much about poetry. I don't profess to know much about the pearly glint of the morning dew, or the damask sweetness of the rare wild rose, or the subtle greenness of the serpent's eye. But I think that a poet's claim to greatness lies in his power to put passion into the common people.
Aye, passion, the howl for his destruction. The people. Damn the people. They live in the abyss. The poet lives in the mountaintop. To the people, there is no mystery of color. There is simply the scarlet coat of a soldier, the purple vestments of a priest, the green banner of a party, the brown and blue overalls of industry. The people have no...
Is that a tapping again?
Tapping? What tapping?
That's the second night I heard that tapping. I believe it bodes me no good. There. Do you hear it now? A slow, steady, mysterious tapping on the wall.
I hear no tapping.
Be better for me if you did. It's a sure sign of death when nobody hears it but myself.
Death? What the devil are you talking about?
Oh, no, I don't like it at all. There's always something like that heard when one of our family dies.
I don't know about that, but there's a hell of a lot of things heard when one of your family lives.
Well, God between us and all harm. Thanks be to God I am where I ought to be, in bed. It's always well to be in your proper place when such things happen. Sacred Heart, there it is again. Do you not hear it now?
Oh, for God's sake, go asleep.
Do you believe in nothing?
I don't believe in tapping.
Shut up, come on. What? Stop now. I better try and go to sleep, for fear it might begin again.
I do. And if it comes again, I'll be sure to waken you up.
It's very cold tonight, Donald. Do you feel the cold?
I thought you was going to sleep.
Ah, the bloody cold won't let me. You need to wear a pair of pajamas. Did you ever wear pajamas, Donald?
No, no, no.
What kind of stuff is in them?
Oh, it depends on the climate. In India, silk. In Italy, satin. And the Eskimo wears them made from the skin of the polar bear.
If you take my advice, you'll get into bed. That poem's beginning to get in your nerves.
Right. Going to bed now. So you can shut up.
I was going to say something there before you put the light out. What's it was now? Oh, aye, yeah. When I was coming in this evening, I saw that Minnie Powell going out. Now, if I was you, I wouldn't have that one coming in here.
She comes in. I don't bring her in, do I?
Well, the old ones will be talking. And when they start, you don't know how it'll end. Now, surely a man who has read Shelley couldn't be interested in an ignorant little bitch who thinks of nothing but jazz dances, foxtrots, picture theatres and dress.
Right glad I am she thinks of dress. But she thinks of it in the right way and makes herself a pleasant picture to the eye. Education has been wasted on many people. Teaching them to talk only, but leaving them with all their primitive instincts. Had poor Minnie received an education, she would have been an artist. She certainly is a pretty girl. I'm sure she is a good girl, and I believe she is a brave girl.
Oh, a Helen of Troy, come to live in the tenement. You think a lot about her simply because she thinks a lot about you. And she thinks a lot about you because she looks on you as a hero, a kind of Paris. She'd give the world and all to be gatting about with a gunman. And what joy to give her if one of these days you were shot or hanged. She could go about then like a good many more, saying, I do not mourn me darling lost, for he fell in his jacket green. And then for a year and a day, all around her hat she'd wear a tri-coloured ribbon, till she'd pick up with and marry someone else, probably a British Tommy or the Mon Star. As for being brave, it's easy to be brave when there's no cause for cowardice. I wouldn't like to have me life dependent on brave little Minnie Powell. She wouldn't sacrifice a jazz dance to save it.
There, that'll be enough about Minnie Powell. I'm afraid I'll soon have to be on the run out of this house, too. It is becoming painfully obvious that there is no peace to be found here.
The house is all right. Barring the children now, it does be very quiet. Wasn't there children in the last house you were in, too?
Aye, 10. And they were all over 40.
Everything's very quiet now. I wonder what time it is.
The village cock hath thrice done salutation to the morn.
Ah, Shakespeare. Richard III, Act 5, Scene 3. It was Radcliffe said that to Richard just before the Battle of Bosworth. Ah, how peaceful the heavens look now, with a moon in the middle. You'd never think there were men prowling round outside trying to shoot each other. I don't know how a man who has shot anyone can sleep in peace at night.
There's plenty of men can't sleep in peace at night now unless they know that they have shot somebody.
I wish to God it was all over. The whole country's going mad. Instead of counting their beads now, they're counting bullets. Their paternosters and Hail Marys are bursting bombs. Bursting bombs and the rattle of machine guns. Petrol is their holy water. Their mass is a burning building. Their de profundis is the soldier's song, and their creed is, I believe in the gun almighty, maker of heaven and earth. And it's all for the glory of God and the honor of Ireland.
I remember the time when you yourself believed in nothing but the gun.
Aye, that's when there wasn't a gun in the country. I've got a different opinion now when there's nothing but guns in the country. And you daren't open your mouth now. For Kathleen Houlihan is very different from the woman who used to play the harp and sing, weep on, your hour is past. For she's a raging devil now, and you've only got to look crooked at her, and you're sure of a punch in the eye. Well, this is the way I look at it. I look at it this way. You're not going to beat the British Empire, by shooting an occasional Tommy at the corner of an occasional street. Besides, when the Tommies get the wind up, they let bang it out and they see they don't give a God's curse who they plug.
Oh, maybe they ought to get down off the lorry and run to the records office to find out a man's pedigree before they plug him.
It's the civilians that suffer. When there's an ambush on, they don't know where to run. Shot in the back to save the British Empire, and shot in the breast to save the soul of Ireland. Oh, I'm a nationalist myself, right enough. I'm a nationalist, right enough, but all the same. I'm a nationalist myself, right enough. I believe in the freedom of Ireland, that England has no right to be here. But I draw the line when I hear the gunmen blowing about dying for the people, when it's the people who are dying for the gunmen. With all due respects to the gunmen, I don't want to have them dying for me.
Not likely. You object to any one of them deliberately dying for you for fear that one of these days you might accidentally die for one of them.
Oh, you're one of these brave fellas who doesn't fear death. Huh?
Why should I be afraid of it? It's all the same to me, how it comes, where it comes, or when it comes. I leave fear of death to those people that are always praying for eternal life. Death is here and death is there. Death is busy everywhere.
Aye, in Ireland. Well, thanks be to God, I'm a daily communicant. There's great comfort in religion. It makes a man strong in time of danger and brave in time of trouble. No man need be afraid with a host of holy angels round him. Thanks to God for his holy religion.
You're welcome to your angels. Philosophy is mine. Philosophy. That makes the coward brave, the sufferer defiant, the weak strong. Philosophy.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what was that?
Oh, God! That was very close.
Is there any Christianity at all left in the country?
How are we ever going to know what peace and security are?
If this goes on much longer, I'll be nothing but a galvanic battery of shocks.
It's dangerous to be in and equally dangerous to be out.
It's dangerous to be here with that window. You can never tell the moment a bullet had come through it and hit
the what, man?
The wall.
Couldn't you say that at first without making a song about it?
I don't believe there's horses in that stable at all.
Stable? What stable are you talking about?
There's a stable at the back of the house with an entrance from the yard. It's used as a carpenter's shop. Did you ever hear the peculiar noises there at night? They give out as the horses shaking their chains.
And what is it?
Oh, there I'll leave you.
Surely you don't mean...
Oh, but I do mean.
You do mean what?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, surprised.
I wouldn't be...
Go on.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were manufacturing bombs in there.
My God, that's a pleasant contemplation. The sooner I'm on the run out of this house, the better. How is it you never said anything about this before?
Well, I didn't want to.
You didn't want to what, man?
I didn't want to frighten you.
You're bloody kind.
Are you asleep, Mr. Shields?
What does that one want coming in at this hour of the night? No, Mrs. Gregson, what is it?
He hasn't turned up yet, and I'm stiff with cold waiting for him.
Oh, Mr. Gregson, is it?
Adolphus, Mr. Shields. After taking his tea at 6 o'clock. No, I'm telling a lie. It was before 6. For I remember the Angelus was ringing out and we sitting at the table. After taking his tea, he went out for a breath of fresh air, and I haven't seen sign or light of him since. Declare to God my heart is up in my mouth, thinking he might have been shot by the black and tans.
He'll be all right, Mrs. Gregson. Go on to bed now and get a little sleep. Sure, it's always the worst that comes into a body's mind. Go on to bed now or you'll catch your death of cold.
I'm afraid to go to bed, Mr. Shields. For I'm always in dread that some night or another, when he has a sup taken, he'll fall down the kitchen stairs and break his neck. Not that I'd be any the worse if anything did happen to him.
For you know the sort he is, Mr. Shields. Sure, he has me heart broke.
Ah, don't be downhearted, Mrs. Gregson. Sure, one of these days he might take a thought and turn over a new leaf.
Sorry, a leaf Adolphus will never turn over. He's too far gone in the hordes for that now. Sure, no one would mind him taking a pint or two if he'd stop at that. But he won't. Nothing could fill him with beer. And no matter how much he may have taken when he's taken more, he'll always say, here's the first today.
Christ, is she gonna stop talking here all night?
She'll hear you. Now, right enough, the man has the poor woman's heart broke.
And because he's her heart broken, she's to have the privilege of breaking everybody else's?
Mr. Shields,
What is it, Mrs. Gregson?
do the insurance companies pay if a man is shot after curfew?
Well, now, that's the thing I couldn't say, Mrs. Gregson.
Isn't he a terrible man to be taking such risks and not knowing what'll happen to him? He knows them societies only want an excuse to do people out of their money. Is it after 1 now, Mr. Shields?
Oh, yes, it must be after 1, Mrs. Gregson.
Ah, then, if I were a young girl again, I'd think twice before getting married. There's somebody now. It's him. I know by the way he's fumbling. Is that you, Dolphy, dear?
Yeah,
Dolphy, dear, mind yourself.
I'm all right. You see anything wrong with me?
Of course you're all right, dear. No one's minding you.
Minding me, is it? Minding me? Jeez, it'd want to be a good thing that it mind me. Because there's a man here. A man, mind you, afraid of nothing. Not in this bloody house, anyway.
Come on downstairs now, Dolphy, dear. Sure, there's not one in the house that'd say a word to you.
Say a word to me, is it? Says it'd want to be a good thing that it'd say anything to Dolphy Gregson. Hey! Is there anybody in this house wants to say anything to Dolphy Gregson? Because if there is, he's here. A man, too. There's no blotting it out. A man.
You'd waken everybody in the house. Can't you speak quiet?
What the hell do I care for anybody in the house? Are they keeping me? Are they giving me anything? When they're keeping Gregson, it'll be time enough for them to talk. And I can tell them, Adolphus Gregson wasn't born in a bottle.
Why do you talk like that, dear? We all know you weren't born in a bottle.
There's some of them in this house seems to think that Gregson was born in a bottle.
Come on down to bed now, dear. You can talk about them in the morning.
I'll talk about them now. Come in here. Here. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Dolphy Gregson's afraid of nothing, creeping or walking. If there's anyone in this house thinks he's fit to take a fall out of Adolphus Gregson, well, he's here. A man. Why, dears, they'll find Gregson's no soft thing, eh, Mr. Shields?
Dolphy, dear. Poor Mr. Davoren wants to go to bed.
Davoren? Oh, now, there's a man. Come on there. Come on, put it there, mate. Come on, you don't have to be afraid of Dolphy Gregson. There never was a drop of informer's blood in the entire family of Gregson. Now, I don't know what you are or what you think, but you're a man. And not like some of the gougers of this house that'd hang you. I'm not referring to you now, Mr. Shields.
Oh, you're not deluding to Mr. Shields.
Oh, I know that now. I know that, Mr. Gregson. Go on downstairs with Mrs. Gregson and get a little sleep.
I tie myself to no woman's apron strings, Mr. Shields. I know how to keep Mrs. Gregson there in her place. I have the authority of the Bible for that. I know the Bible from cover to cover, Mr. Davoren, and that's more than can be said for some in this house. And what does Holy Scripture say about woman? It says the woman shall be subject to her husband. And I mean to see that Mrs. Gregson here keeps the teaching of the Holy Book and the letter and in the spirit. Now, listen, Mr. Davoren. If you're ever in trouble and you need the help of Gregson, I'm your man. Have you, mate?
I have you, Mr.
Right.
Gregson, I have.
Right. Now, mind you, I'm an orange man. I'm not ashamed of it and I'm not afraid of it. But I have a feeling for a true man, I'll say. Have you got me, Mr. Shields?
Oh, yes, Mr. Gregson, we all know you well. So many a good Irishman was a Protestant. Tone, Emmett, Parnell.
Well, now, wait now. Hold on there. Now, Mr. Shields. Mr. Shields, I can't say as I agree with them you've mentioned, because the Bible forbids it. And Adolphus Grigson will always abide by the Bible. Fear God and honour the king. That's written down in Holy Scripture, and there's no blotting it out. But Mr. Davoren, come on here, man, now. I'll have a little drink, just to show there's no coolness, huh?
No, thanks, Mr. Grigson. It's too late to take anything. Go on downstairs with Mrs. Grigson, and we can have a chat in the morning.
Oh, are you sure you won't have a drink?
Quite sure, thanks. All the same.
All right, then. Here's the first today. Ah, here's to all true men, even if they were born in a bottle. And here's to King Billy, and the Battle of the Boyne, and the Hobart Black Chapter. That's my lodge, Mr. Davoren. And to the Orange Lily, oh, did you go to see the show? Each rose and pink a dilly, oh, to feast your eyes and view the prize. Won by the orange lily, oh. So, hey,
holy God, isn't this
oh,
terrible?
the lily, oh, the royal lawyer. There's no need to be frightened. They can't be coming in here.
God forbid. It'd be terrible if they came at this hour of the night.
You can never tell, Mrs. Gregson. They come in on you when you least expect it. Oh, what in the name of God is going to come out of it all? Nobody cares a Thrawnee now about the orders of the Ten Commandments. The only order they mind now is put your hands up, or it's a hopeless country.
Whist, man, whist. I had to hear them talking outside of the door.
Aye.
My God, you're sure of your life nowhere now. It's just as safe to go everywhere as it is to go anywhere. And they don't give a damn whether you're a loyal man or not. If you're a publican, they make you sing God Save the King. And if you're loyal, they make you sing the soldier's song. The singing would be all right if they didn't make you dance afterwards.
They'd hardly come here unless they'd heard something about Mr. Davoren.
About me? What could they hear about me?
Oh, listen, you'll never get some people to keep their mouths shut. Listen, I was in the Blue Lion this evening, and who do you think was in there blowing out of him but that little blower Tommy Owens? Yes, there he was telling everybody that he knew where there was bombs, that he had a friend who was a general in the IRA, and he could tell them what the staff was thinking of doing, that he could lay his hands on tons of revolvers. There wasn't a mile from where he was living, but that he knew his own no and would keep it all to himself.
Now, God blast the little blower anyway. It's the likes of him who deserves to get plugged.
Right.
What are you looking for among the books, Donal?
The letter I got today from Mr. Gallagher and Mrs. Henderson. I'm blessed if I know where I put it.
Oh, chance you look for it tomorrow.
It's addressed to the Irish Republican Army, and considering the possibility of a raid, it would be safer to get rid of it.
I think we better be getting to bed, Davy. It's not right to be keeping Mr. Davoren and Mr. Shields away. Good night, Mr. Davoren. Good night, Mr. Shields.
Good night, Mr. Shields. Good night, Mr. Davoren.
What in the name of God made them give you a letter like that? And you were to take it. Have you got it?
I can't find it anywhere. Isn't it terrible?
What in the name of God made you take a letter like that? Ye gods, there's nobody got any brains at all. Oh, it's a hopeless country. Did you try your pockets? Your pockets.
Oh, thanks be to God.
Oh.
Here it is.
Burden it now. And for the love of God, never take a letter like that again. There's the motor going away now. Ah, we can sleep in peace for the rest of the night. Just to make sure of everything now, you better have a look in that bag of MacGowran's. Not that there could be anything in it.
Well, if there's nothing in it, what's the good of looking?
Well, it won't kill you to look, will it?
God. It's full of bombs.
Mills bombs.
Oh, holy mother of God, you're joking.
If the tans come, you'll find out whether I'm joking or no.
Oh, this is a nice pickle to be in. Oh, holy St. Anthony, look down on us.
Oh, there's no use to blaming St. Anthony. What did you let MacGowran bring that bag in here for?
Why did I let him bring the bag here? Why did I let him bring the bag here? How did I know what was in it? Did I only think there were spoons and hairpins in it? Oh, what do we do now? What do we do now? Oh, holy St. Anthony, grant there'll be no rain tonight. I knew something would go wrong when I missed Mass.
Oh, give over your praying and let us think of what is to be done. There's one thing certain. As soon as morning comes, I'm on the run out of this house.
Ah, thinking of yourself like the rest of them. Leaving me here to bear the brunt of it.
Why shouldn't you bear the brunt of it? MacGowran was no friend of mine. Besides, you're to blame. You know the sort of man he was. You should have been on your guard.
Did I know he was a gunman? Did I know he was a gunman?
You need to tell me that you didn't know that MacGowran was connected with the Republican movement. What's the use of trying to tell damn lies?
Mr. Davoren, they're all around the house. They must be going to raid the place. I was looking out the window and I seen them. I do be on the watch every night. Have you anything if you have? There they are! There they are! There they are! What is it? What have you got?
Bombs. We're done.
Oh, holy St. Anthony, you hear them battering on the door. There's the glass gone. Saying act of contrition, Donal.
I'll take them up to my room. Maybe they won't search it. If they do itself, they won't harm a girl. Goodbye, Donal.
Oh, if we come through this, I'll never miss Mass again. If it's the Tommies, it won't be so bad. But if it's the Tans, we're going to have a terrible time. Oh, there. Who's that? Who's here? Only two men, sir. Myself and me mate in the other bed.
Why didn't you open the door?
I'm a little hard of hearing, sir. I didn't hear you knocking.
You must be a little hard of hearing, eh?
Well, I had rheumatic fever a few years back, and ever since then I do be a little hard of hearing.
How is it you're not in bed, eh?
I was in bed, but when I heard the knocking, I got up to open the door.
You're a kind bloke. Delighted like to have us pay you a visit, eh? Why did you answer?
Yes, sir.
Get on that chair, quick! Get your hands up, quick! What's your name?
Davoren. Dan Davoren, sir.
You're not an Irishman, are you?
I was born in Ireland.
You were you? Irish, and proud of it, eh? Stand down. Put your hands down! What's your name?
Shame it. Oh, no, Jimmy Shears.
Oh, you're a Celt. One of the Celtic race, what speaks a lingo on its own and wants to overthrow the British Empire, I damn think. Hey, where's your gun?
I never had a gun in me hand in me life.
No, you wouldn't know what a gun was if you saw one, I suppose. What's this then, eh?
Oh, no! Oh, please be careful.
What have I got to be careful about?
The gun! It might go off.
And what if it does? What's the price? I can easily reload it. What's in that press? You got ammunition in here, eh?
Only a bit of grub, sir. You'll find nothing in there. Nobody in this house has any connection with politics.
No. I haven't met a man yet who wouldn't say that. We're a little ikey now to be kidding with that sort of talk.
May I go and get a drink of water?
You want a barrel of water before we're done with you lot. Hello, what's this? A statue of Christ in a crucifix. You'd think you was in a bloody monastery.
They're turning the place upside down, upstairs and downstairs. They're making a litter of everything. I declare to God it's awful, but law-abiding people have to go through. And they found a pint bottle of whiskey under Dolphy's pillow. And they're drinking every drop of it. And Dolphy will be a devil in the morning when he finds he has no cure.
What whiskey, eh? Here.
Ah!
Where do you live?
Oh, downstairs in the kitchen. Oh, and when you go down, ask them not to drink. Oh,
He's gone without listening to me.
Are they searching the whole house, Mrs. Gregson?
They didn't leave a thing in the kitchen that they didn't flitter about the floor. The things in the cupboard and all the little odds and ends that I keep in the big box.
Oh, they're a terrible gang of blackguards. They haven't gone upstairs. They'd hardly search Minnie Powell's room. Do you think they will, Mrs. Gregson?
And just to show the sort of man he was, before they came in, Dolphy put the big Bible on the table, opened at the first Gospel of St. Peter, 2nd chapter, and marked the 13th and 17th verses in red ink. You know the passages, Mr.
Yes.
Shields. Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. Love the brotherhood, fear God, and honor the king. And what do you think they did, Mr. Shields? They caught a hold of the Bible and they flung it on the floor. What do you think of that, Mr. Shields, flinging the Bible on the floor? And then one says to another, Jack, says he, have you seen the light? Is your soul saved? And then they caught a hold of poor Dolphy, calling him Mr. Moody and Mr. Sankey, and wanted him to offer up a prayer for the Irish Republic. And when they were putting me out, there they had the poor man, sitting up in his bed, his arms crossed over his breast, his eyes looking at the ceiling, and he singing a hymn, we shall meet in the sweet by and by. And all the time, Mr. Shields, there they were drinking his whiskey. There's torture for you. And they all laughing at poor Dolphy and his terrible sufferer.
In the name of all that's sensible, what did he want to bring whiskey home with him for? They're bad enough sober. What will they be like when they're drunk?
He always brings a drop home with him. He calls it his medicine.
They'll hardly search the whole house, will they, Mrs. Gregson?
And we have a picture on the mantelpiece of King William crossing the Boyne. Do you know what they wanted to make out, Mr. Shields? That it was Robert Emmet and the picture of the Sacred Society.
He's not listening to a word I'm saying. Oh, the country is hopeless and the people is hopeless.
For God's sake, tell her to go to hell after this. She's worse than that oxy.
No. Better let her stay where she is. It's safer to have a woman in the room. Oh, my God, if they come across the bombs, I hope Minnie will say nothing.
Oh, we're a pair of pitiable cowards to let poor Minnie suffer when we know that we and not she are to blame.
Well, what do you expect us to do, ma'am? Do you want us to be done in? If you're anxious to be riddled, I'm not. Besides, she's only a girl. They won't harm her, and everything will be all right if only she keeps her mouth shut.
I wish I could be sure of that.
There's a bit of me that's not shaking like a jelly.
Have they gone upstairs, Mrs. Gregson? Mrs. Gregson, do you think they'll soon be
when they
gone?
were making poor Dolphy sit up in the bed, I thought every minute I'd hear their guns go off and see poor Dolphy stretched out dead on the bed. God bless us, I think I hear him moaning.
You might as well be talking to a stone. Ah, it's hopeless, hopeless, hopeless. She thinks she hears him moaning. It's bloody near time somebody made him moan.
He's moaning for the loss of his whiskey.
Come on now. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get out there. Come on.
Minnie! Oh, Pop leg! God save us, they're taking Minnie Powell. What in God's name could have happened?
Oh, God grant she won't say anything.
We'll never be able to lift up our heads again if anything happens to Minnie.
For God's sake, keep quiet or they'll hear you. Nothing will happen to her. Nothing at all. Everything will be all right so long as she keeps her mouth shut.
After getting a whole lot of stuff in Minnie's room, enough to blow up the whole street, a town says. God, tonight, who'd have thought that of Minnie Powell?
Did she say anything? Did she say anything, Mrs. Gregson?
She shouted up the Republic at the top of her lungs. And big Mrs. Henderson was fighting with the soldiers. She after nearly knocked one of them down. They put her in the lorry, too.
Well, blast that old one. What does she want coming in here? Cannot she not mind her own business? Doesn't she know there's a raid on? There's a whole country going mad. God, I'd open fire in a minute now on innocent people.
What way are they using Minnie, Mrs. Gregson? Are they rough with her?
They couldn't be half rough enough, the little hussy. To be so deceitful, she might as well have had the house blow up. Oh. God, tonight, who'd think it was in Minnie Powell?
Oh, God, Brad, she won't say anything. Are they gone, Mrs. Gregson?
There. They're going away now. Ah, then, I hope they'll give that Minnie Powell a cooling.
Are they gone, Mrs. Gregson?
With her fancy stockings and her pom-poms and her crepe de chine blouses, I knew she'd come to no good.
Are they gone, Mrs. Gregson?
They're gone, Mr. Sheets.
Oh, that's an exciting few moments, Mr. Davoren.
Dolphy, dear, you're all right, thanks to God. I thought you'd never see the morning.
Of course I'm all right. What about a bother in Dolphy Gregson? Not the tans, anyhow.
When I seen you stretched out on that bed and you singing a hymn.
Who was singing a hymn? When was I singing a hymn? Do you hear me talking to you? When was I singing a hymn?
Oh, Dolphy, dear, I was only joking.
Get the hell downstairs. Your place is down below and not up here gossiping to men. Down with you, quick. Panic-stricken. You know the only thing to do with these fellas is to show them that they can't put the wind up you. Show the least sign of fright and they'll walk on you, simply walk on you. Two of them come down, put them up, revolvers under your nose, you know, the usual stuff. What's all the bother about, says I, quite calm? Oh, no bother at all, says one of the money. This gun might go off and hit somebody. Have you, me, says he. What if it does, says I? A man can only die once, and you'll find Gregson won't squeal. By God, you're a cool one, says the other fella. There's no blotting it out.
Yes. Ah, that's the best way to treat them. It only makes things worse to show you've got the wind up.
Oh, yes.
Any ammunition in here's for the fella who came in here. Not that I know of, says I, but you better have a look round. No back talks to see how you might get plugged. I don't know, says I, of any clause in the British Constitution that makes it a crime for a man to speak in his own room.
Ah, my God, that's the way to talk to
With that, he just had a look round and off he went.
Ah, yes, sure. Listen, if a man keep the stick. My God, that's an ambush!
God, they shot her. Who shot? Minnie Powell.
Minnie Powell!
Is she dead? Shot her jumping up a lorry. Shot through the bosom. Oh, God, poor Minnie Powell.
Hear the sighing. Hear the sighing, Shields. Minnie Powell is shot.
For God's sake, keep quiet or you'll have them in on top of us
Is that
again.
all you're thinking of? Do you realize she has been shot to save us?
Is it my fault? Am I to blame?
It is your fault and my fault both. We're a pair of dastardly cowards who let poor Minnie do what she did.
She did her off her own bat. We didn't ask her to do it.
What's going to happen next? Oh, Mr. Davoren, isn't it terrible? Isn't it terrible? Minnie Powell's been shot dead. They were raiding a house a few doors down, and they had just got into their lorries to go away when they was ambushed. You never heard such shooting. And in the thick of it, poor little Minnie went to jump off the lorry she was on, and she was shot through the bosom. Oh, it was horrible to see the blood pouring out and Minnie moaning. They found some paper in her breast with Minnie written on it, some other name they couldn't make out with the blood. The officer kept it. The ambulance is bringing her to the hospital. But what good is that when she's dead? Poor little Minnie. Poor little Minnie Powell. To think of you so full of life a few minutes ago. Now she's dead.
Me, alas. Pain, 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 ever, forever. It's terrible to think that little Minnie is dead. But it is still more terrible to think that Davoren and Shields are alive. Oh, Donal Davoren, shame is your portion now, till the silver cord is loosened and the golden bowl be broken. Davoren, Donal Davoren, poet and poltroon. Poltroon and poet.
I knew something had come in that tapping on the wall. I knew something would come of it.